All right, peace. What's going on, folks? Hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, most importantly, comment down below. Now, this video is entitled The Church and the Poor. Okay? Now, the thing is for me is the reason why I'm making this video is because, sometimes I'll sit there and I think to myself, like, as many people follow religion, right? The numerous different types of churches, as many people follow these religions, why is there such an inconsistency of wealth with their followers and the churches? You see what I'm saying? Why is there such an inconsistency of why isn't there a balance of wealth with the followers and the church? Because the followers are the ones that invest in the church. So shouldn't the wealth of the church reflect the wealth of the followers? But see, the thing is, that's not the case. Usually, the wealth of the church reflects the wealth of the church and not necessarily the followers, because a lot of times the people who are in that church or the followers of that church are nowhere close to the financial stability of the church itself. So if if in fact the followers are the gas, right? If they are the blood, the veins of the church, then how come they aren't as sustained and maintained as that church itself? So my point being is that how do we still have an overwhelming amount of poor and undernourished when majority of these countries where there are poor and undernourished people, not only are they avid followers of religions, but they probably follow probably even more more what's the word I'm looking for, a devout, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times they're even more devout, but then like I said, you find that they ain't got shit, but the church has money. And all these different churches that got money, from Catholic to Muslim to Latter-day Saints, you name it, Scientology, they all got money. But my point is that why don't the followers reflect the wealth of the church, right? Why don't you see that? And especially in third world countries. Why do we even have third world countries when majority of these third world countries belong to a church and that church is rich? I can't think of like I mean, we're definitely going to break down the finances, but every major body, right? The Muslim church, Catholic church, and just let's just say the Christian church, because Catholic and Christian are basically the same thing, but obviously there's different denominations, right? And offshoots. So, but in essence, it's all the same thing, right? But Muslim is in its own category, but we'll put Catholic and Christian in their own category. So my point is that these people got billions and billions of dollars. Why do we still have problems with people who are poor and hungry? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't understand why we have that problem. And then especially when you see a lot of times when it comes to the media, where a lot of these churches, they go to these third world countries. Well, why is it that when they go there, they just go there and just feed them food as opposed to, you know, building some kind of a farming infrastructure or water wells where they can sustain themselves, teach them how to plant, teach them, industrial skills so they can do their own thing. Like, that's what I don't understand. Some of these religions have enough money to literally fund a country. So why wouldn't they do just that? Why wouldn't they do just that? And especially them being a church, right? They are under the notion of not only charity, number one, but number two, you give to the poor. I'd like to assume most religions follow that, kind of that way of thinking, right? You give to the poor, right? So, like I said, I'm pointing these things out because not only do we all know about it, but I'm just reminding us in regards to what is our direction in faith and religion and in church when they hold such a monetary a dominance in our society, but yet it's not being implemented and it's not as influential as you would expect it to be. The reason why I'm saying that is because these religions and churches, they've been around for thousands of years. So with them making money for thousands of years, hell, even putting a dollar a day, whatever it is, whatever currency you're in, even putting in a certain amount of money for 1,000 years, I like to assume you would change the whole fucking world. I'd like to assume so. If we all tithed in the sense where we gave to underdeveloped countries and things of that nature, to where we're investing in them so they can in turn invest in themselves. Like I said, within 100 years, I'd like to assume there could be a complete change from night and day from a third world country turning it into something better. Also, on the fact that the majority of these third world countries and followers, they are devout religious followers. They're devout. Most of them, if it's not in Africa, they are either Christian or Muslim. But either way, devout as hell. They probably pray more than anybody else. All in Western civilization when it comes to religion. So my point is that why do we still have poor and undernourished and third world countries when we have churches that are worth more than countries and can actually fund countries if they even wanted to? So I'm going to break down. Obviously, I got some notes to kind of support what I'm saying, so maybe people can understand what I'm trying to point out here. Like I said, I know y'all see it, and yes, I know there's churches out there that help people and do things, but like I said, I don't feel like any church, for that matter, has done it in an overwhelming level to where it's influencing the whole world. Where, like, we know, like, hey, the Catholic Church took Somalia and turned it into a third world country, into a first world country. Or we know that Joel Osteen and all them people, where they took some money, hell, took a town or a state, and even in America, went to Little Rock or went to Texas, where they're from, took a town in Texas and turned it into this, you know what I'm saying, this like, this metropolitan where people are getting money and people are learning, and I don't see that. I don't see that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in small levels, but like I said, if it was happening at a high level, not only would we all see it, but it would be influencing the rest of the world because we would be knowing about it, right? People would be moving there, and people would be moving out there going, yeah, I just left that town. Joel Osteen and them, they got free college, free this, or if not, it's free, but you come work, you do this, but at the end of the day, I'm successful. I have a better life now, because I'm talking about countries, towns, counties, you know what I'm saying, states, neighborhoods, projects. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just shelling off to some charity where no one knows where the money's going, and if it does, it's touching these little places where there's not even much of a ripple effect. So my point is that if any of these bodies of religion, $1 billion even in the bank account, why isn't half of that money going and changing some country or changing some city or changing some town? $100 million would change any town, any city, any country. It would. You would see something if $100 million was put in some kind of farming infrastructure in a third world country, or in some kind of irrigation system in a third world country, or some kind of innovative technology to where they can get some jobs. We would see these things. We would see these things if it was done in a big level. We would feel them. We would see them. We would notice these numbers. We would notice countries not being poor anymore, right? We would see these things. There wouldn't be need to outsource to third world countries and pay them pennies of the dollar, because they'd be making their own money over there. So when it comes to these, to mega churches or just these big ass churches in general, they're worth about 1.2 trillion annually to the U.S. economy, according to Georgetown University's Brian Grimm, who did the study on this. In perspective, that would make religion the 15th largest national economy in the world, ahead of 180 countries in terms of value. So that would also make American religion larger than global revenues of top 10 companies, including Apple, Amazon, Google. It would also make it 50% larger than the sixth largest American oil company's revenue on an annual basis. So the mega churches, on average, they make about $6.5 million in income a year. Mega churches in a whole make about $71 billion a year, non-taxable. The Lakewood Church with Joe Osteen is in charge of it. They have a yearly budget of about $80 million. You see what I'm saying? So it's like every year, $80 million. Every year, $80 million. Every single year is $80 million. Like I'd understand. Like I'd really like to think that if these churches put their money together, they could really, really do some damage when it comes to killing this thing about underprivileged and poor people and malnourished. $80 million. That's just one church. One church, $80 million a year. Oh, I mean six million a year. A yearly budget of 80 million. Like that would do some damage. That would definitely do some damage. And that's just one church. So let's talk about an even bigger church that's been around even longer, which is the Catholic Church, right? That was the first organized church, right? In regards to organized religion. So the Vatican has large investments with the Rothschilds of Britain, and they have investments in France and America with the Hambros Bank and the Credit Suisse in London and Zurich. The United States has large investments with Morgan Bank, Chase Manhattan Bank, First National Bank of New York, and the Bankers Trust Company, and many others. The Vatican has billions of shares in the most powerful international corporations such as Gulf Oil, Shell, General Motors, Bethlehem Steel, General Electric, International Business, TWA, and etc. But this is just a small portion of the wealth of the Vatican, which in the U.S. alone is greater than that of the 5 wealthiest giant corporations of the country, which I mentioned earlier. Now, if you add up all the real estate, property, stocks, and shares, bonds, the staggering accumulation of wealth of the Catholic Church becomes so formidable as to defy any rational assessment. So, in essence, if you put together everything they own, real estate, property, stocks, shares, bond, whatever it is, they can't even put a monetary figure on it because there's so much. They can't even put a monetary figure on how much they're worth. I don't think y'all understand what that means. There is no number that they can calculate and put down to go, everything y'all own, this is how much it's worth, because there's so much. There's so much. They have artifacts and relics that are deemed priceless. Priceless. That means you can't even, not even buy them, you can't even put a price on them even if you thought about buying them. Priceless. They got Egyptian and ancient African artifacts that are deemed absolutely priceless. Priceless. So now the Catholic Church is the biggest financial power, wealth accumulator, and property owner in existence. They have a greater possessor of material riches than any other single institute, corporation, bank, giant trust, government, or state of the whole globe, according to journalist Alexander Light. I'm going to read that again. The Catholic Church is the biggest financial power, wealth accumulator, and property owner in existence. They have a greater possessor of material riches than any other single institution, corporation, bank, giant trust, government, or state of the whole globe. Yo. So that tells you right there how much money these people have, man. So like I said, I'd like to assume if you have more money than we can't even find out what your bank statement. We don't even know. There's so much we can't even find out. I'd like to assume with that type of money, you can definitely do some damage when it comes to world hungers and underprivileged and industrialized countries. Now, charity. Now, churches fall into a category of charitable entities. This is often stretched. Researchers calculated that the Mormon Church, for example, spends roughly 7% of its annual income on charity. Only 7%. The study of 271 the study of 271 congregations found an average of 71% of revenues going into operating expenses, while help to the poor is somewhere within that remaining 29%. Now compare this to the American Red Cross, which uses 92.1 of its revenues for physical assistance and just 7.9 of it on operating expenses. So, like I said, that can tell you where their intent is. You can always feel free to double check my numbers. Like I said, man, this is all research, and this was done by a journalist. His name was Alexander Light. You can just Google Alexander Light, and you should find some of his articles in regards to the church. So my point is that just like this said that unfortunately some of these churches which they're based on, they are a church and they base their fundamentals on things like giving to the poor and charity, while people in the church are tithing and giving them money. Like I said, and they only give 7% of their annual income to the charity. The Red Cross is not even a religious group, and they give more money than the religious group. What type of shit is that? It made no goddamn sense to me either. Hell, come to find out, Walmart give more than them too. Walmart give more than a lot of religious groups, and they're not even considered a religious body. Walmart, for instance, gives about $1.75 billion in food aid to charities each year, or 28 times all of the money allotted for charity by the United Methodist Church, and almost double what the LDS Church has given in the last 25 years. So not only have they given more, 28 times more than the United Methodist Church, but almost doubled what the LDS Church has given in the last 25 years. So just to kind of give you guys an idea on what the hell is going on out here with these churches and why they are so goddamn rich, but then the followers aren't, right? And then it's like the farther you are away from the church, the less money you got. The Bible on wealth and treasure. So the reason why I'm doing this, like I said, is because I do not understand the inconsistency, because the church is they stand on the foundation on taking care of everybody, right? Especially taking care of the poor, right? And then I'd like to assume too, majority of people who are poor, they're not poor because they want to be. You know what I'm saying? You don't wake up in the morning and just go, shit, I just want to be poor. And I like to assume majority of people who are poor, they're not poor just because they're lazy and can't do shit about it. Majority of people who are poor, they're poor because of the circumstances they're in regards to society, in regards to they don't have any academic relief. They don't have schools where they can go to and get actual, decent schooling where they can go get good jobs. A lot of times they don't even in regards to just their house, just living quarters. Some of them don't even have a house to call a home. They living in shacks and shit like that, underdeveloped cities and townships. That's where a lot of these people are coming from. And so my thing is that instead of just coming over there and giving them bowls of food and big ass bags of rice or whatever the fuck, why don't we teach them how to grow the rice? Why don't we teach them how to grow this food? Why don't we teach them how to build computers? Why don't we teach them how to program computers? So then they can build their computers for their people and they can do their thing over there. Why don't we I don't understand why these churches don't spend money to have these countries and these people learn how to fish, as opposed to these churches just giving them fish all day. Why don't you teach them how to fish? But see, that's the thing, is that if they taught them how to fish, then they wouldn't need them anymore, which is why they only want to give them the fish. You see what I'm saying? Now, I definitely want to touch on what specifically the Christian Bible says about the rich and the poor, the wealthy, treasure, materialistic things. So the reason I want to point that out is because the church is, any church for that matter, they're big on telling us to give. They're big on that, right? But how big are they on them giving? And I'm talking about giving the way the person who started their church gave, like the leaders of the church, like, for example, in the Christian church, the Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ didn't have a big-ass church, big-ass building. Jesus Christ wasn't wearing gold. I don't even think And anytime I've read the Bible, Jesus talked about wearing gold or having gold or asking for gold or anything like that. He didn't have a, I don't think he didn't wear like a little, one of them little hats with the gowns with the gold all over, with the gold staff, sitting on a gold throne, driving $200,000 cars. He wasn't riding on Clydesdales out there. He wasn't riding on the most expensive donkey out there. I don't think he was. I don't think he was. I don't think Jesus was living in the nicest neighborhood when he was in Jerusalem or wherever he was hanging out at. I don't think he was in the nicest neighborhood. I don't think he had a bank account, or let's just say, back in them days, any sense of monetary value. I don't think he had any. I think if he did, he made it a point to give it away, and to the people who needed it, to prove that it's not about money, right? I'd like to assume that. Why are the biggest representatives of Jesus Christ not resembling Jesus Christ? So, because if Jesus Christ was the man of God and didn't care about money, then why are the biggest representatives of him, why do they have a bunch of money when their leader didn't believe in being monetarily powerful? He didn't believe in that. He didn't believe money even gave power. So why are the representatives of him monetarily powerful? I don't get it. I don't get it. So I'm going to read a few scriptures and passages that I had found in the Bible that refer to money and wealth and treasure and, and people who have it and how they should perceive life and how they should even be perceived. So I'm going to read some. And this, like I said, this is from y'all's book. This is from the Christian Bible. And how many of these, and while I'm reading them, I want you to think about how many of these do any church live up to, for that matter. Any church for that matter. Now, I'm not saying every church got a Bentley and Porsches. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the concept of a church taking care of the people as opposed to the church taking care of the church. And I'm talking about the people having the wealth of the church, not the church having the wealth of the church. That's what I'm talking about here. The balance of the people having the wealth of the church. The people are the ones that produce the wealth of the church. So they should be the ones controlling it as opposed to the church. Right? I'd like to assume so. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to read you a parable that was in Luke chapter 12, 16 through 21. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, what should I do? For I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods, and I will say to my soul, so, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. Let's run that back. You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So let's break that down. The Catholic Church and all the relics and artifacts that are deemed priceless, all the real estate property they own, all the gold that they own, all the shit they own, who have they prepared it and who will they leave it to? And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? Who are you going to give those to, Catholic Church? Because you damn sure ain't getting them to the people, because the people are starving and they don't even got no homes, right? So they're holding all this stuff for who? What are they going to do with it if something happens? Who are they going to give it to? They ain't giving it to the people, obviously, because they took it from the people. The artifacts come from the people, right? They come from civilizations for a people. right? And them shits wasn't given to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church dug them up, excavated them, and kept them because they were deemed precious, right? So my point is that all the monetary assets that the Catholic Church, or any church for that matter, has stacked up. This is your Jesus asking here. And the things, not me, the Jesus, Luke, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? Whose will they be? Who are y'all stacking that shit for? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. If the church is rich and the followers aren't, who's stacking treasures for themselves? The church has to reflect the followers, because the followers are who made the church. It's just like democracy, right? It's just like government. The people have to reflect the government, right? Just like the government reflects the people. So what the government's doing, and what the government has, what the government is, should be a clear reflection of the people. Same thing with a church. What the church is doing, what the church is, what the church has, should be a clear reflection of the followers, because that's who made them. That's who's keeping them alive. Same way with the government. It's the same concept. So why, same thing with government. Why is there not a consistency in regards to the people and the government? Affordable care, health care. They don't have affordable health care. People don't have sustainable education. There's high incarceration rates. Why isn't the government not reflecting these things, right? Same thing with world hunger in underprivileged countries all over the world. People are poor. Why isn't the church reflective of this? Especially when I've just broke down how much money, that they got so much money, we can't even put a number on it. And that's just one denomination. Well, it is the original one, but like I said, you can't even put that, like, how do you have so much money? We can't even understand. We can't even, like, write it down how much you have just because there's so much shit you got. And then some shit is deemed even priceless. Some of those Black Madonnas and Egyptian artifacts, you can't put a price on that shit. You can't. And then you wonder how they even got them. Nobody gave them to them. Why would somebody give up something so priceless? If something was priceless, why would you give it up? So obviously they didn't give it up, but they have it, and it's worth everything. And it's worth so much I can't even tell you how much it is. Yet we still have world hunger and people starving. Third world countries. People ain't never even seen a cell phone, ain't never even seen a TV and shit like that. While we got a church that has so much money, we can't even put a monetary value on it. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 10. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. So I'd like to assume if you have so much wealth, we can't even put it in the numbers. I'd like to assume you have somewhat of an infatuation with money. I'd like to assume so. There's no way you can just stumble and trip into so much money you can't even fucking count it. Not only you can't even count it, even time can't count. Nobody can count it. You don't stumble into that, right? You don't stumble into shit like that. That is investments. That is taking over shit and taking over people and taking and swallowing up what they have, and it becomes yours, and so on and so forth. But my point is, you don't get to a level of having so much money that we can't even put a monetary value on it if you don't have some kind of love for money. You can't be rich and don't say that you don't like money. That's impossible. You can't do that. Because if you really were, have you heard of these rich people, man, who literally will give away all their money? That's what that means about not liking money, is that you don't give a shit about your money. Like, you don't mind being broke, you don't mind being rich. But most of us, when we get money, we want more. And that's because we love money. You know what I'm saying? So if the church is richer than all of us put together, all combined, richer than countries and everything, do they love money too? I like to assume so. Like I said, you can't hate money and be the richest thing in this fucking earth. That's impossible. You can't do that. You can't hate money and be the richest thing in the world. But like I said, whoever loves money, whether it's a church or a person, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. So a church who has so much shit, I'd like to assume they're still not satisfied with that. That's what y'all's book is saying. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10. Y'all, that's y'all's book. Y'all look the shit up. This too is meaningless. The love of money and the fact that the satisfaction will never be there is meaningless. And that goes for a person or a church or a whole big ass church. Psalm 37, chapter 6, verse 17. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. 17, for the power of the, this is verse 17. For the power of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous. I'm going to run it back. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. So I like to assume better the little that the righteous have. So I like to assume the little that the righteous have, that ain't the church, right? Because the church don't have little. So I don't think we can put them with the righteous. Because according to Psalm 37, it says, better the little that the righteous have. So I'd like to assume the ones who have the little are the ones that are righteous, right? Not the ones who have so much money you can't count it. Okay, thought so. So better the little that the righteous have, which are the Somalians and the Afghanistan people and Tanzania, Madagascar. These are the people who have nothing. So I think that's what they're talking about. Yeah, I'd like to assume so. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealthy of many wicked. So the wealthy, I like to assume, are the ones that have money where you can't even count it, right? Okay. For the power of the wicked will be broken. Now, those are the people with a bunch of money who you can't count. But the Lord upholds the righteous. So that means God is still with the poor and the underdeveloped, underprivileged, and the impoverished people. So the Lord is still with them. Okay, that's good to know. All right, good to know that. Good to know that. Matthew chapter 19, verse 21. Jesus answered, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. That's Jesus talking. Jesus said that. Jesus said that. He said, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. That's Matthew chapter 19, verse 21. I'd like to assume the Pope know this verse. I like to assume Joe Osteen know this verse. I like to assume all them cats that ride in private planes just to get to church, or that, or that spend, what, $6.5 million a year and have an annual budget of $80 million. I like to assume they know that verse. If you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor. So, okay. But the thing is this, though. It says give to the poor. It didn't say how much. I'm pretty sure that's what Joel and them are saying too, right? Was it the Mormons that only gave 7%? Yeah, it was the Mormons, right? Let me go ahead and check that stat out one more time so I'm saying it right. The Mormon Church, for example, spent roughly 7% of its annual income on charity. Okay. The study was done, I'll repeat it. The study of 271 congregations found an average of 71% of revenues going to operating expenses, while help to the poor is somewhere within the 29%, compared to the Red Cross, which uses 92.1% of their revenues for physical assistance and just 7.9% for the operating expenses. Okay, so the Mormon Church roughly spends 7% of its annual income on charity, right? But Matthew, they said, go sell your possession and give to the poor. So they gave to the poor. They only gave 7%. I guess that's the loophole, right? I guess so. I guess that's the loophole. I think y'all seeing my point here. I think y'all see my point here. I'm not saying that these churches don't give, but what I'm saying is they don't give enough. That's what I'm saying. They don't give enough. You can't be the richest thing in the world and you still got poor people that follow your religion, that follow your Jesus or whatever leader you got. You cannot. That's like a army. That's like an army. You see, that's why the army takes care of its soldiers. That's why the army takes care of its soldiers. That's why anything that happens to you in the army, bro, they got you. They'll pay for anything and everything for the rest of your life. That's why they do that. That's why they do that. That's why they do that, because they're going, that soldier is one of our followers. So we got to take care of him. What we got, he has. So it would be cool if a church did the same thing, right? It would be nuts for the followers. And I'm talking about the third world people. I'm talking about the people who don't have nothing. Like I said, while these preachers and priests and everybody's running around in priceless gold, but the followers they don't have anything. That's what I'm talking about. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It's so crazy. That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy to read these scriptures, and then I think about where they're being read, and they're being read in the places where there is a clear, distinct love of fucking money. Shit's like, that's what I'm saying. It's so, I just don't understand it. I don't get how people could, I don't understand how even how them people can do that. I don't understand how they can read this stuff to the followers, but then pull in millions of dollars every year when nobody in the church got $1 million. Nobody in the church got anything close to that. But then that money, like I said, they're not turning some neighborhood from a project into a suburb. I don't know what they're doing with the money, to be honest with you. If I did, I would know. I would hear about it, would see it, right? Would hear neighborhoods being built. Would hear people are not starving anymore. That's my point, is that if it was being done the way their leader supposedly did it, or should do it, or would ought to do it, I like to assume if the Jesus was running around here, he would take all $1 billion, all whatever it is, and go, I want to build a whole city. I want to build a city for these people. That's what he would say, some wild shit like that. I want to build a whole city we need some irrigation systems for these people. We need some crops. We need to bring in some animals. Have them start breeding around here. We need to get it cracking for the city. Boom, get it done. That's what Jesus would do if he was around here. He wouldn't be like, let's put some stocks on. Let's get some money in the stocks. Let's get some real estate property. Let's get into the motion picture business. Nah. He would say, let's start fixing shit. Let's start helping people. That's what they would do. Like I said, I'm not saying a lot of these churches don't help people. I'm saying they don't help them in a bigger scale. It needs to be bigger, because if it's not, then y'all keeping the money for yourselves. Y'all keeping the majority of it for your church. Y'all keeping all the treasures. And I don't know, like I said, like we read the last scripture, we don't know what y'all even plan to do with those treasures. Who y'all gonna give them to? We don't know. But instead of figuring out a way to get some money off of them, to give them back to them, to give it and give the money to the people who need it the most, let's balance this shit out a little bit. Church don't want to do that. Church don't want to do that. They need their billions. They need their gold. What else I got here? Matthew, chapter 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Matthew, chapter 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. So what do you treasure? Okay, what does the church treasure? The people or the treasure? I'd like to assume if it was the people would be rich. And not just rich monetarily, but they'll be rich in faith and in all aspects of living, right? Because the church is doing just fine in all aspects of living, right? So the followers, the treasure of the people should be the treasure of the church, right? They should be the commodity of the church. They should be that value system. That's what should make the church rich, is the followers, not the bank account and the real estate assets and how much gold they've bought, that they've accumulated through years. But obviously that's not what the case is. Now the treasure is the gold, the assets. So now, according to Matthew 6, chapter 21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So if treasure, literally treasure, is where the heart of the church is when it comes to, like I said, artifacts, real estate, gold, relics, priceless relics, whatever, if that's where, that's literally treasure. Is it safe to say that's where their heart is too? Because it's hard for me to say the heart's with the people, or their treasure is the people, because are the people as stable as the church? Are the people spiritually content? Are they fundamentally and environmentally content? Are they mentally content? Are they emotionally content? Are they physically content? Because I like to assume the church is all of these. They're physically, mentally, socially, they're fully content. The church is. But what about the followers? Because they're supposed to be the treasure of the church, right? Because before money, there was just the church and the followers, right? Psalm chapter 37, verse 16 through 17. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. Yeah, we read that one. Okay, Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. It's crazy. It's crazy. As much as I know how much the Bible's been modified, I still, like I said, I'm using y'all's book. So, like I said, with the Joel Osteens, whatever his name is, and the Benny Hinn's and all these people, they'll touch your face and then you fall down and you're saved. All of it. For them to be so monetarily superior than anything that follows them, and then to take their monetary superiority and then compare it to their leader, which is the Jesus Christ, there's such a huge difference of perception there. There's such a huge difference of an idea there, right? Because could you even imagine Jesus Christ standing next to Joel Osteen right now? Could you even imagine that? Could you imagine it? Could you imagine him going, what is all this shit? And then Osteen like, no, you want a cappuccino? We got a Bentley waiting for you in the back. You need to take a shower? What do you need? Like, play it out. I bet he would flip out. He'd flip out, be like, what are you over here living like a goddamn rap star? You live like a celebrity. You balling out of control. How many rooms does your house have? How many people in your family? You got 18 rooms and you got 3 people in your family? I'll bet you, I've never even seen that man's house, but I bet you money he has got 3 times more rooms than he has family members in that house. I guarantee it. I guarantee that man got 10, 15 rooms and there's only maybe 3, 4 people in that house. Man, I bet you money. I'm not sure, but I bet you money on that. That's why I'm betting, because I'm not sure, but I will look it up. My point being is this. Y'all know in your right mind that if whatever Jesus you believe in, he was a humble person and he wasn't about all this money and all this shit that all these churches have that they don't need and they get from the people, but don't give it back to the people. I'm not saying churches should be broke. What I'm saying is that if the church is broke, it's because the people are broke. It needs to reflect the people. You can't have a rich ass church with broke ass people. You can't have rich ass people with a broke ass church. That's my point. I'm not saying churches don't give away a car every once in a while to a family. I'm not saying they don't buy a house or they'll rent an apartment to somebody. I bet they do, and it's a beautiful thing. That's cool. But what's that really doing? Is that just showing everybody else how nice the church is? Because if the church is really about it, put all your money up and let's go change a country. Let's go change a whole neighborhood. It don't even have to be a country. You can start here in the States. Go to Little Rock, Gary, Indiana. There's plenty of places in Texas. Hell, Oklahoma too. Plenty of them. Chicago. There's plenty of them. But why aren't they not doing that? Why are they not putting it all on the line like that? I know your Jesus would. Yeah, I know your Jesus would. I bet your money your Jesus would. I bet your money your Jesus would flip all your tables upside down, take all your credit cards and break them, take your dollars and rip them. I bet that's what your Jesus would do. He said, what is this shit? Y'all, all y'all doing is buying shit for yourselves. Y'all ain't even helping anybody with this money. Y'all not changing the world with this money. $80 million budget a year. And the state you're in there's still broke neighborhoods? And y'all are averaging an $80 million budget a year and there's broke neighborhoods in your state? That shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't even be happening. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17 through 19. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth. You hear that? Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. So, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor put their hope in wealth. You know, it's just like I said, it just says it all right there. You know, for us as a people to not see that these religions are not putting, they're not putting all their eggs in the people's basket, as opposed to putting their eggs in the business, in the longevity of the church. If I honestly think that if they would invest more in the people, then it would reflect that in the church. It would reflect that in the church. Now, the thing is, too, is that when besides any state or, like I said, town, neighborhood, project, city, county that exists, everybody needs help. I get it. You know what I mean? I understand that. It's just like I said, my thing is that when you see places that, places like Sierra Leone, like Somalia, I'm talking about these people, they eat like a bowl of rice like every 3 fucking days. I'm talking about they'll drink water, man, like every other day. They'll drink like a cup of fucking water. And don't, like, a shower, I'm talking about like a real shower, not just jumping in a fucking river or some shit. I'm talking about like a real ass shower. I ain't even heard of. A shower, like a real shower with water hitting you, ain't even heard of in some of these places. Ain't even heard of. A meal, a full course meal. It's either one thing or another thing. It ain't even a full course meal. Like, don't even think about entertainment. Don't even think about TVs and shit like that, or PlayStations, or iPhones, and some people they don't have none of that shit. None of it. None of it. Never even ate like a piece of candy or some shit. Like never ate, you know, ice cream or something. Like some people they don't have shit out here, man. They make less than like 50 in Madagascar, less than $50 a month. Less than $50 a month. You know? So that's what I'm talking about. The vast difference. You know, the spectrum is way too wide. Like we definitely need to start paying attention to this. But the reason why a lot of us don't, because it don't affect us, right? Because we look at it going, well, that can never be us, or that can never be me, or I feel bad for them. Oh my God, like the only thing that separates you from them is thought. That's it. That's the only thing that separates a rich person to a poor person is thought. That's the only thing that separates them is thought. That's it. So I just wish we would understand the fact that it's bigger. It's bigger than us. And if you are part of some religion, well, good for you. But question that religion. Question your leaders of your religion. Ask them, how much are we doing for this world? Because that's what y'all supposed to be doing, right? Like y'all are supposed to be coming together and helping each other and helping the world. You know what I'm saying? Kumbaya, right? That's what it is. So ask your leaders. Ask your Christian leaders, how much money do we spend? Not even Christian, whatever religion you're in. Ask them, how much money do we spend? Like, who are we helping? How much have we done? What's the plan? Is there a 5-year plan? A 10-year plan? Have we ever tried to help out a whole town? A whole neighborhood? Fuck just one family. Why don't we do a whole town? Like I said, I just named a church that made $6.5 million a year. I like to assume there's a lot more that are just like that. And then you know, churches like the Catholic Church, who we can't even put a monetary value on how much they make. I can't even tell you how much they got so much shit. So I'm not getting on here just a bitch. I'm getting on here because I want to let y'all know, but then also I feel like, I mean, you know, I got to give some kind of solution. You know, I'm not on here just to talk shit. I'm on here because I see a problem and it needs to be fixed. But I feel like everybody just looks at it as, oh, let's just help the poor. When instead of why don't we just end poor shit? End all that poor shit, malnourished people. Why don't we end it? Why don't we end it? Like, yes, I know there's always going to be somebody that's going to be broke. I get it. My point is where, you know how majority of people that run around in the world aren't sick? The same way majority of people can run around the world and not be fucking dead, broke, and malnourished. I fully believe that can happen. But see, the places that are underprivileged and impoverished in our third world countries, a lot of them are in the place they call Africa, my motherland. But see, with all the turmoil and all the shit that's happened in Africa, you could understand why it is the way it is now. Even the current leaders and even the past few hundred years of black leaders in these African countries, not only have they continued the rape and pillaging of their mother countries that was done by the colonialists from Europe, but not only did they continue that raping and pillaging of their own people, but they adopted the same business and war strategies that were implemented on them when they were colonized. Now they're implementing on their people that they're governing. And that's what's unfortunate, is that a lot of these warlords, they learned from the Europeans. They learned from the ones who colonized them first on all them tactics and what they're doing. That's who gave them the reins, right? Because what happens? A country will fight for their independence, right? Or they'll write up one of them independence, and kind of like you somewhat file for it in a sense, in a weird way, right? You end up fighting for it. More than likely, that's what happens, right? You fight for it, and then It's either that rebel group wins and the reins are given to him, or the Europeans find someone that they like and they hand everything over to them. But one way or another, somebody wins, and then there's a rebel army now who's trying to fight them. And then, like I said, and then it's back and forth. And then there's still European influence because there's always going to be an outside party funding the war because they have their own agendas for that country. For example, for their natural resources, for their, their national commodities. So my point is that it was built on bullshit, so it's going to end that way. So I don't expect the president of Sierra Leone to be running shit well when the president before him didn't run shit well, and then the people who took them over taught them how to not run shit well because they were took over by people who don't run shit well. I don't expect first world country coming out of that type of chaos. How do you expect places like that to come out of, how do you expect South Africa to just propel in this successful industrial era when we're coming out of apartheid where not only it was legal to be racist, but as soon as there was a black president, motherfuckers started jumping ship. And then now the black people who are running shit are now implementing the same bullshit that was implemented on them. The Jacob Zumas and them stealing money, building big ass estates in the middle of impoverished neighborhoods because they have the same mentality of the colonialists. That same Western way of thinking of you just grab as milk as much money as you want out of this shit. That's what you do. And that's what I feel like every third world country in Africa at one point was not a third world country. But through them being subjugated to slavery, their natural resources being stripped, and then, like I said, being ruled by an outside entity who has no allegiance to the people who actually are from that nation, stripped a lot of the countries of all their wealth, of all their spiritual, natural resources, environmental wealth, all of it, stripped. And now, present day, what we got these crazy ass warlords who have a twisted mentality in governing a country because they were taught by their oppressors on how to govern a country. They were taught by their oppressors on just how to govern, period, and on this new society of living. So they're just as greedy. But like I said, I wish I could see the church come in, or any church for that matter, come in and go, hey, look, we got billions of dollars. We want to fix shit. We'll buy y'all a fucking army. We got money. We'll buy y'all an army. Shit, y'all got enough followers. Y'all can put together an army. Boom. You know? So my solution is any true solution of hunger must be economically and agriculturally sustainable. We must help the hungriest nations to be able to produce their own food. That's what's most important. They got to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining. The money that we put into world hunger should be aimed mainly at developing and increasing production of food, especially in places closest to the unnourished communities, right? So my point is that we have to figure out a way, in layman's, they have to learn how to fish for themselves. So we have to create an agricultural foundation for them to sustain themselves on. And that has to be an infrastructure that is built on long-lasting, on long-lasting agricultural means, right? So it's not something where you just plow a few fields. I'm talking about we're plowing thousands of acres of different proteins and fats on different types of food to where we can sustain not only millions of people, but for a long period of time, right? And in some places in Africa, they're having irrigation problems, water problems. It's like it's surrounded by freaking ocean. It's surrounded. There's some Lake Victoria. There's so many lakes, and there's the Niles over there. It's like they can definitely like I said, implement an irrigation system, an irrigation infrastructure, where these people can live and do this shit themselves, and do this shit themselves. I'd like to assume if any church would give up majority of their assets to save their followers, they would be richer than any monetary value we could even think of, because they'll be rich with followers and rich with people, and the people would actually be their true treasure, as opposed to literal gold treasure, which is not, which that ain't shit. Gold ain't shit. It's the people that are the commodity. But like I said, I don't think these churches realize that. They only see it in a way where it's their commodity by them bringing them profit, bringing them money. Because if I saw what I'd like to, what I'm envisioning in regards to these churches, they would be acting like their leaders. And their leaders, they wouldn't be doing this. They wouldn't be doing this right here. Jesus wouldn't be making $6 million a year, living in a mansion, driving Bentleys and Mercedes, and he wouldn't be doing that shit. And any priest or pastor, anybody tells me he would, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think everybody in the right mind understands what I'm saying. That no Jesus would be doing that. No Muhammad. Muhammad wouldn't be riding around in gold beamers and having floating fucking islands. Muhammad wouldn't be doing that. I don't even know Muhammad. I don't believe it. I don't even think he existed, to be honest. But like I said, if he was around, if Jesus was around too, these cats would not be wearing gold, sitting in gold thrones, holding gold staffs, wearing gold jewelry all over themselves, and having artifacts from different countries that don't even belong to them. I don't think Jesus would be doing that. First of all, Jesus would be like, why do y'all have all those people's... Take them treasures back to Africa where they belong. Why'd y'all take them shits? Because y'all know they're worth something. Take them back. Them shits ain't yours. That's what your Jesus would say, first of all. Then then he'll say, all them real estate houses y'all got, all them real estate apartments, all them shits, go put some homeless people in there while y'all bullshit. While y'all just trying to make some money. Go put some homeless people in there. And then while you're at it, go to Africa and go and take back all the shit y'all took. Plant some shit, motherfuckers. So at the end of the day, like I said, man, I digress, I know. My point is that these churches need to reflect their followers. The followers are supposed to be the treasure of the church, not the church literally having treasure, as in gold and materialistic assets. The assets of the church are the people. And if the people are not rich in health, if they're not rich in spirituality, then your church is poor in spirituality and is poor in health. But when it comes to gold, oh, it's rich as shit. But like I said, where's that gold? Where is your church gonna take it when it goes? Is it gonna take it to heaven too? Y'all gonna take all of Africa's artifacts up there too, and all the gold staffs and all the shit? Where y'all gonna take them? Who are you leaving them for? So then why are they such value to y'all? Why do y'all have them? How is that helping your followers? How is that helping the people in South America, in Brazil, in the favelas who are starving? But they will pray the Hail Mary more than any American. How does it help the Somalians who are Muslim and pray to Allah while the Arabs and all them are making money hand over fist? There's something wrong, people. There's something wrong. So I'm gonna leave you with that. Like I said, the only way we can change it, we have to create economic and agricultural sustainability. Economic and agricultural sustainability. That's what we have to create. The hungriest nations, they have to be able to produce their own food. The money that is put into these World Hunger Initiatives. They should be aimed at developing and increasing the production of food. And hopefully and preferably that food will be produced close to these malnourished cities and towns and countries. So quit giving them fish. Teach them how to fish. That's what y'all was supposed to do. Your leader would be doing that. While y'all over here swimming in money. Having so much money that we can't even, nobody can fucking count. And y'all the church. What would your Jesus say about that? Man, that's what I think. So I'll let y'all marinate on that one. The church and the poor. Church and the treasure. Who is the treasure? The money or the people? Y'all tell me. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe. Most importantly, comment down below. I do this for y'all, so I'd appreciate your opinion. Hey, like I said, I ain't hate on no church. I'm going to call it how I see them. If your church is out there doing something, like I said, good for them, step it up, because there's still people out here dying over bullshit and they don't have nothing at all. So if y'all are doing it, all I'm saying is just step it up. Y'all step it up. Y'all taking everybody's money who loves God and Jesus or Allah, whoever it is, y'all take the money and give it back to those people. Give it back to them. But give it back to them the way, like I said, they can feed themselves. You don't just give them shit. Give them something that they can sustain themselves and learn how to take care of themselves. But y'all got to start with the bottom, man. Y'all got to start at the bottom. And the bottom is the third world countries that, like I said, that the European colonized and raped and pillaged, and now they're just left to rot. And then people say, oh, well, what about the black people who run them now? Like, well, that's because, like I said, they were taught a system of rape and pillage, and now they're doing the same damn thing. What they got down there? Huh? What they got down there? Presidents, right? And prime ministers. That is not an African way of, that's not an African body of government. That's not an African way of perceiving government. We didn't have presidents and prime ministers. That's a European way of doing things. And that's what most countries have in Africa, a European way of government. If it's not parliament, it's the democratic way, like I said, where it's government, there's presidencies and vice president, all that shit. But like I said, that's the Western way of doing things. And we're seeing how far that's taken us. We're seeing how far it's taken us. It ain't even been 500 years. It ain't been 500 years yet. Like, y'all know, like, hell, I'm trying to think, what was that one dynasty? You know, like, on the average, like, most dynasties, thousands of years they reign. Thousands. So I'm saying it's only been 500 years this shit been cracking off, and look how bad it's getting. I can't see this shit going for another 500. I don't see it. I don't see it one bit, but we'll see. So, like I said, folks, think about it. Whatever church you go to, how much y'all giving? Are y'all changing the world, or y'all just changing a few people's lives? Obviously, that's better than nothing, but what would your Jesus do? What would your Allah do? Huh? What would he do? Would he sit there and go, good job, guys. I'm glad you guys are bringing in money for the church. I'm glad y'all made me millions of dollars. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's go hit the private jet up. Let's do this. It's on the church, right? Non-taxable. Y'all really got to fix this shit. I'm talking about the leaders. I'm talking about the priests, the pastors. Y'all got to fix it. Because if you don't, well then, I already know what y'all stand for. But your followers will know. After they watch this, they think about it, they go do their research, and go ask you questions. Go do your own research. Go do your own homework. And ask your pastors and your priests. Go do your own research. Go find out what's a third world country and where they are. And then go find out what God they pray to. And then wonder why that God's not helping them out. Why they haven't ate for 5-6 days. They live in a shack. They're child soldiers. And like I said, and they believe in the same religion you believe in, right? So let's get back to the basics, folks. Let's get back to the basics. So who is the true treasure? Is the treasure the people, or is the treasure when it comes to the church? We need to know. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Peace.